Hello and welcome to the weekly GCN webinar. To take my class and learn more about how to be a working actor, please go to the link over there. There it is. There it is. Please go to that link. All right, now on with the show.
Oh my gosh, we're streaming live on YouTube.
That's we're
right.
live.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, are the dulcet tones of Kevin R. Free. So we all want to be a little more free. So we got Kevin to join us this week for our weekly GCN update. Mr. Kevin, how are you, sir?
I'm all right. I don't know if you can hear where I live. I'm very close to the NYPD shooting range.
Oh my God.
There are lots of gunshots happening outside my little booth right now.
You do a lot of audiobooks. How do you deal with that?
Pause.
Lots of pausing. And also, it's not as bad. I mean, right now I have the shipping blanket over here open, and my window is open because it's quite warm in the booth. And I was recording all morning, and my director on the other end couldn't hear the gunshots at all, and I've never had anything returned because of the gunshots. So it means that my little booth was pretty good.
Kevin's home booth works.
Yeah, and I also pause when they get particularly loud.
I'm incredibly shocked. I was trying to think back about where you and I met, and I don't even know. It might have been on 500 auditions ago, but we because we're the same type, so we go up for the same things. But I think we did theater for a new audience as teaching artists once together way back when.
No,
that ain't it. All right.
I was a teaching artist for BAM.
No, I wasn't there. No.
I was not a teaching artist for Theater for a New Audience. I was a teaching artist for Roundabout.
I worked at Roundabout a lot in various different ways, so maybe that's it.
And Symphony Space.
Dated a girl who worked there.
I mean, who didn't?
5 years ago.
I didn't vote.
I have a feeling this is going to be my favorite interview.
I didn't date any girl. Anyway.
Yes. But Kevin, I wanted to talk to you because you're a Black multi-hyphenate here, keeping it alive in New York City, as am I. And I am always interested in how you stay sane and happy in the artistic life. Or insane but still happy and alive. You know what I mean? It's so there are so many forces that want to make us crazy, including everything inside myself. And every time I've run into you over the years, I know you're angry, and I have read one or two of your plays. But you have always presented to me as sort of someone who's dealing very well with this world and finds it all funny. So that's why I wanted to talk to you, my friend.
I appreciate that, Bruce.
Yeah. So you are a writer, but started, I believe, as an actor. And what was the genesis of writing? Was it, God damn it, I want some roles that I could play? Or was it, I find the world funny and angry and I want to tell about it? Or what was the genesis of writing from being an actor? And I ask that because a lot of people who watch this and who I have taught are actors who then become writers, and I'm always encouraging them to do so.
Yeah. There are several parts to this. So yes, I started writing not because there was a dearth of roles so much, but because I moved to New York in the 90s because I thought I was going to make a splash in the musical theater on Broadway. That is what I believed about myself. And that didn't happen.
You are the only African American in the Fantastics, though. You have that, my friend.
In that one role. There have been African Americans who've done other things, but that one. Thank you for calling that out. But I was the first one in that role, and that was really lovely. And that was 2014. That was almost 20 years after I moved to New York. So
yeah.
Yes, I started writing because, well, there were two things that were happening. The specifics of me writing at the moment, in that moment, were that I was the biggest country music fan you ever wanted to know or didn't want to know. And at the turn of the century, going into 2000, I was also using a lot of country songs to audition for musicals. And that was partly because I wanted to, and I felt like some of the songs fit well with the stories and also with what was happening in the shows. So I chose things, I was not just, singing country songs to be singing country songs. I was singing country songs because I thought, but everybody looked at me like I was crazy. And what I realized was that, one, I was crazy, and two, I was not cookie cutter. And that is no shade to the people who have all been cast in those musicals. But the only way that I was going to be noticed ever for anything is if I was different, because I was already different. And that was also part of the thing that I didn't really understand in that moment, was that I was already different. And part of the reason I wasn't being cast in some of those things is because I was different. And there's nothing wrong with that. I just was, the other part was that I was young, but really smart. I mean, I'm brilliant. But at the time I was young and smart. And I think I didn't fit because I was young, but I seemed older. And for the things that I was old enough for, I looked too young for them because, black, it don't crack. And so, that. So the first thing I wrote was a solo show I was actually writing patter to do a cabaret that was all country music. And I was writing patter because I was trying to explain to people that country music is actually central to the African American experience, because it is all about storytelling. Which is a thing that when I used to like tell people, yes, I do Shakespeare, because it's really just storytelling. It's not, let's not be daunted by it. I didn't know that all these years later that I would never want to even be near a Shakespeare production, but that's how I started my career. Anyway, so the first play that I wrote was called Face Value, and it turned out to be a solo play about a black country singer. And the racial thing came up in it because of the number of times that people made fun of me for liking country music. And so the show...
Kevin, are you from down south? Is that where this love of country music comes from?
Yes.
Where are you originally from?
I'm from North Carolina. I'm an Army brat. I lived in a bunch of places. One of my cats is yelling at me right now. Hey, buddy. Hi. What's going on? Okay, sorry. He's just really... He's 18, and so he thinks he's hungry sometimes when he's not.
Yep.
Me too.
Yep.
Yeah. Same. I think I should eat when I actually probably just need a pill. So anyway, yes, I'm from the South, and but I'm an Army brat, so I lived in a bunch of places. But the thing about country music, I started to love it because I was a waiter in the South, and it was on all of the songs. And then when I would listen to, when I would watch award ceremonies, the Grammys or even the Country Music Awards, all of the country singers sounded exactly like they sounded on recordings. And I didn't get that with any other kind of music at that time.
Oh,
and so as a person who, I grew up a singer, that was really important to me, that it was clear that people weren't just sweetening their vocals. People were singing, and they were singing into a microphone, and it would be recorded, and that's how they sounded, and then they would sound exactly like that. So there's that. So anyway, that was the first play that I wrote, and it was it was supposed to be like VH1's Behind the Music, Flat Blast from the Past, if you remember that show. But on the show, the conceit of the play was that they never ask the subject of the show, but they ask everybody in their life a basic question, and then they have to answer the question. And then when they're basically letting the cameras roll, and as the people answer their questions, they either dig holes for themselves or whatever. And it exposes all of their assumptions about race. But the question that they asked the family and friends of this black country singer is he really black?
Ouch.
And then they all answered the question in whatever way they could answer the question.
Hmm.
You know, at the time I didn't realize that I was so ahead of my time at the time, because that seems like the kind of thing that people would produce now, because nobody wanted to produce it back then.
Sounds like a Netflix show. Yeah.
Right. And so anyway, so that's where I started writing. Now, the thing about it was that we all write things because there aren't roles for us. Like, actors who write always end up writing because there aren't roles for us. And for me, what happened was that I did that, and then all of a sudden my acting career started to pop. And so I didn't write as much again until 2007 or 2008, because I didn't need it in the same way. I had an agent at the time who ended up being
Who's not your agent now?
No. Who said to me, who talked to me about, at the time, I was sending postcards to people, to casting directors and commercial agents and stuff, who said to me, never send a postcard if you don't have something to say. And so
I say things like that to my students all the time.
Yes, sir.
I mean, and that made perfect sense to me. So what I want to say about the writing was that I clearly had something to say. And the thing that I had to say was not, please cast me. The thing that I had to say was, blackness defies description, basically. And so that was the thing that I needed to say with my play. It wasn't just, I need to write a play for myself so that I have work. So I just want to say that to the people who are writing because they don't have roles for them, is that let's be clear that we are writing about something that you have to say. How does that make you feel? Or why don't you think people are casting you? If there's something in there, then I think that's the thing that can be mined. Otherwise, it just seems like a vanity project. Be clear, they're both vanity projects. You just don't want it to seem like one. That's all.
Right. Noel Coward's plays were all vanity projects, except now they're Noel Coward plays.
Right.
And we're fine with that. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. And they're definitely, I'm just saying, my thing was definitely a vanity. My plays that I was going to be in, that I knew that I was going to be in when I wrote them, were all vanity projects. But I also had something to say, and so I wanted to make sure that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
That's interesting, and I've never written a vanity project or been in anything I've written, but but on stage in movies I have. But that's interesting. What are you writing now? What are you doing now? I know you do audiobooks, hence you are in your little your little studio there. What are you working on these days, Mr. Frey?
I have a solo play that I've been working on with Andre de Shields. I've been writing it I was writing it for myself, but he's been doing readings of it because he's Andre de Shields. So I'm working on that. And then I'm also supposed to be writing a very small play to be enjoyed by one person or two people, to be performed inside a barn in Vermont for Project Y. But I haven't written that yet, so maybe I'll get started on that tonight.
Now that you've mentioned it live on the air.
Right.
Caroline, what questions do we have from the masses for Kevin?
Seeing you be in things like the Fantastics and all of these other really cool things that you worked on, I'm like, wow, like this is the most amazing career. He never stops working. This is the dream. But I'm sure that there's so much going on behind that. So I guess I just want to know, like, are there moments that pop up? Like, I know that there's so many highs and lows. Are there moments where you were like, I can't do this anymore? Or what's the moment where you were like, this is the best, I love my life, this is amazing? I just want to hear like what was actually going on. Yeah.
I've never thought about quitting the business. That's not who I am. I waited tables for 14 years off and on, and I always believed that I was going to work. That that is God-given. I don't know what that confidence came from. Like, it was just really divine. The universe made me know that this was what I was going to be doing.
Yeah.
And that the next job was always right around the corner. I had a stretch from the mid 2015 until around the time that I met Chris Reed Brown, where I didn't work at all. And so that was not a full year, but close. After the Fantastics, where I worked some, but not on anything that really paid. And I've done audiobooks for 20 years, but every time I went out of town, it was as if I didn't exist anymore when I came back.
Yeah,
so
when you come back, you have to start over again.
I've heard that. I've heard that. Okay.
But I don't understand what happened there though. Like, there just was nothing. Like, one book a month would have been something.
Right.
But and would have been less work than general, but it would have been something. But I had nothing, and it was really, really tough. But I never thought about leaving the business. I never did that. The answer is yes. I've done a lot of cool projects, and I love doing cool projects, and I love being cast in them. And part of the reason the projects that I've done are so cool is because I don't do the things that everybody else like me is allowed to do. I've never been in an August Wilson play. I don't think I've ever been in a black musical. I've done Once on This Island, but it is also not a black musical in the, you know. And so sorry, bumped my desk. So I don't do, so part of the reason I get to do these cool projects, or always did them before, is because I also always said yes to everything that came my way. So I have experience in every media known to man except for video games, right? I've done everything. And that is great. And I'm really, really happy and very proud of that. Part of the reason, though, Caroline, is because I had to, because I wasn't, quote, blessed and caressed by...
I haven't heard that one.
I don't say booked and blessed or booked and busy. I say blessed and caressed.
I love
I like it. I like it.
It's like wined and dined, only a little more intimate.
Yeah, no, it's much more intimate.
That was not my experience. I think that people look at me and think, oh God, that guy's always doing something, and I can't cast him because he's busy doing things. But I am that guy who's saying, please try to cast me, please, because I want to know that you're thinking of me. I would like to know that. I would like to know that the work that I've done for 25 years means something to people. To people who can cast. That said, I am busy and I am constantly working on something. Right now it's audiobooks. I mean, the audiobook career has been, popping like crazy, especially during the pandemic. So there's that. So I never felt like I was going to leave the business and not be an artist. Right now, like 3 or 4 years ago, I decided that I wanted to be a leader, that I wanted to be an artistic leader. So I started applying for artistic director positions and that kind of thing. And part of the reason I started doing that was because my directing career picked up starting in 2017. And it is the only facet of my career that I have never had to pursue. I didn't have to, somebody said, "Hey, are you a director?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." And because I've been doing it since college, right? But now it is I'm working. People ask me to direct things all the time, and I'm not. So I And I recognize that as a director, I never feel that insecurity that we feel as actors in the room, partly
amazing,
because of all
isn't
of the complex emotions that we're creating all the time. And so like, we're like, oh, I hope that was good enough.
Or the nakedness and fear that you feel as a writer.
Right.
It's directing is a totally different beat. You get on the other side of the table and you're like, all right, everybody calm down.
Exactly.
It's
Exactly.
Wow, yeah.
And so I never feel that insecurity, and I'm also really, I have so little ego as a director. I'm a hyper collaborator. I like when everybody has an idea about a thing. I like when actors disagree with me so that we can have a conversation about why I said to do the thing that I said to do, and then find some place where it actually works and looks like honest. It looks like something that is honest that is happening. So, so I also thought, you know, I want to have a say or be a part of the conversation with the future of the American theater. And so that was one of the things that I was trying really hard to do when I was applying for these jobs, and not not getting interviews, or not, getting paid dust for these things. And then there was a fellowship that I applied for that was announced a couple of weeks ago, and I didn't get it. And when I got the rejection, it threw me into a depression for like a little over a month. I was still working. I mean, here's the part that's like, it's crazy. Like, I had more work than I knew what to do with. I could barely breathe. I'm doing double sessions in this booth. When we're done, I'm going to be recording for another 2 or 3 hours in here. And so being upset about not getting this fellowship just showed how much privilege that I had, I didn't, the fellowship, pays a fraction of what I make doing all the other things that I'm going to be doing. But I felt like this fellowship was a step in the right direction for me becoming a leader. And so one of the things that I had to really think about and that was 2021, and that was the first time that I was like in an actual slump about the career. And I really had to think. I'm still in the process of thinking about it. I'm no longer sad about the opportunity. At the time, the first thing I thought was, what do I have to do? Like, I'm 52 years old. I was 51 at the time, 52 now. But what do I have to do to to be seen by these folks? What do I need to do
for them to different thing.
for them to see me? What do I need to do for them to say, yes, the work that you've put in these 25 years is worth it to us, and we want to bring you here? What would make me sexy enough for them to do that? Because it wasn't when I was in my 20s, and it wasn't when I was in my 30s, and it wasn't when I was in my 40s. So now I'm in my 50s. What do I have to do? And I was very, very upset about that. And that was like, I just felt really terrible about that. And the conclusion, well, not the conclusion, because I'm still very much deciding to turn away from that, is that the truth of the matter is, yes, I live the dream. I have a great life and I have a great career, and I really, really am very respectful and grateful of the work that I do. And now I have to make the decision, when any opportunity comes to me, if it's also offering me an opportunity to climb up that ladder, if the ladder is even real, is that I have to look at the ladder there and decide not to climb it. Have to decide that I'm okay without it. And so I'm in the middle of trying to, of thinking about that. I mean, for years I wanted to be on Broadway, and I thought that was the only thing, that was the thing that was going to get me to where I needed to go. Sitcoms and movies, and that was the thing, right? It has never happened for me, but I've been working nonstop since Broadway closed in March 2020.
Right.
And that's partly because of the hustle of the 25 years. So the thing that I know about the hustle of 25 years is that it worked. is that
Right.
I actually did put the work in, and that I'm able to have the several different artistic streams for myself to continue to work.
That's
So
it.
I was very discouraged, but I'm not. So I hope that answers your question,
Oh my
Caroline.
gosh, it really does. It's just hard to be like, of course, like I think we're so trained sometimes just be like, oh, I'm so grateful, I'm so grateful, I'm so grateful. But like, it's okay if sometimes you're like, I'm feeling a little ungrateful that this didn't add up to the thing that I wanted after so long. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, that's part of it too.
Yeah.
And so just quick follow up, just because I'm curious for me,
Yeah.
if you like, you don't have to share specific if you don't want to, but like if you got to be the artistic director somewhere, what kind of stuff do you like, or do you want to like put in a season?
Oh. Yeah. I would love a season of new clays.
Sure.
Yeah. It's sculpture. It's a
Yeah,
sculpture season.
Yeah,
that
it's a
is so
sculpture.
unique.
It'll be at
Listen.
Storm King.
I would put together a season of new plays and reimagined classic plays. So, but I would never, and I would, if I did classical pieces, none of them would be Shakespeare. So, Sophocles. I think I would want to do more. I'm not really interested in any of the classical things, but I'm super interested in what. I'm sorry, everybody who loves the classical things. But I'm really interested in new work, and I would really love to sort of be a place where these pipeline organizations that work with new voices. I would love to be a place for those plays to come. So I used to be the artistic director of the Five Years Time Festival, and a lot of those playwrights have gone on to be, booked and blessed and caressed and wined and dined. And so I'd love to for some of those playwrights to come straight to my theater, and then plays that have been produced at the National Black Theater. I would love also to bring some of those playwrights into my theater. Things produced by Ma Yi, Project Y Theater, and their Women in Theater Festival. I'm really interested in a place for those folks who are quote marginalized voices, and having them somewhere on the main stage and making an audience recognize that these stories are universal.
Wonderful.
There was something else in there that I wanted to mention about my theater, my imaginary theater that I would
The
run.
free theater.
I love the free theater.
That one's
Free
taken.
theater.
That one's taken. But
Oh, it is?
well, back in the day, the free
But it's not
theater.
any good.
Good free theater.
You could be the B free theater. B dot free.
Free. I like that.
I love that.
I like that.
I'm here for you. What would you like to be doing next year? When we're back in theater, when things are happening more, all of that.
I don't know. I would like to be.
That's a great answer.
I would like to continue to be happy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I want somebody to hire me in Hawaii. So I could wear this shirt and direct in this shirt.
Yeah.
I'm really happy about planning things weeks in advance.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also really happy to take what the universe brings. And if it turns out 2022 is shitty, I really want to be making the most of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sounds like you did in a really shitty year last year. So
I did okay. But I can't answer the question. I don't. It's funny. I don't know
Great
how
answer.
to plan. I don't know how to plan anything because I planned 2020, and you saw how that went with everybody.
yeah.
So I think I'd much rather just accept the abundance that I am calling to myself this year.
Beautiful.
And in 2022, I will hold on to it, put it in the bank, spend some of it, but put some in the bank too.
That's beautiful. Thank you very much.
Thank
Kevin
you
B.
very
Free
much.
for having
Thank
us.
you, Kevin. That was
for,
awesome.
for being with us.
Oh, thank you.
Come back, see us again. Keep us in your heart and tell us what's up so that we can tell everybody else too.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you so much.